Episode 7, The Force Awakens. When everyone asked why isn't there any more Star Wars films, it was mainly due to the fact that the saga had ended. But when the announcement came that a new series of films were to be released, known as the sequel trilogy, people were both ecstatic and confused. I was both. At first I was like, wait, huh? How could there be more? The saga ended on a solid note. Betrayed Federation's droid army gone. The Separatists failed. The Empire defeated. So tell me this, why was there a need to continue what was already a solid saga? But at the same time, I was open to the idea of more films, to see what happened after the original trilogy. Maybe something from one of the expanded universe books, or maybe something original. Let's see what they did. Set 30 years after the events of Return of the Jedi, Luke Skywalker has vanished. But that's the least of our worries. After the Empire's defeat, the First Order, led by Kylo Ren, rose up from the ashes of the Empire to finish what the Empire had started. They want Luke Skywalker, considering that he is the last remaining Jedi, and also probably, but they never really established this, probably to kill him, and the only thing that will be left is the First Order. Leia, who is now a general, is in a desperate search to find Luke with the help of a resistance, so that Luke can help defeat the Sith yet again. Next, we meet Rey, a scavenger who survives on the planet Jakku, looking for adventure, but then a droid named BB-8 appears, who carries a piece of a map that will lead to Luke Skywalker, and now her life will be changed forever. She, along with Finn, who left the First Order, set out on a journey to find out how to reach Luke, while also not falling victim to the First Order. You'll be happy to know that, for one, it's directed not by George Lucas, but by J.J. Abrams, who directed Mission Impossible 3, Cloverfield, Super 8, and the 2 Star Trek reboot films. He at least knows what he is doing, and also there won't be a special edition of his film anytime soon. Thank the Jedi gods. Oh, and by the way, George, I'm sorry if we liked your unfinished trilogy, but we all know what we like, and we also know what we don't like. And also, it's a different Star Wars film entirely. It's very different. Our opening scene takes place on Tuanu, a small village on the planet Jakku, where we meet Poe, a member of a resistance who gives the plans to the droid named BB-8. Already, it feels like a different film. It's not trying to repeat what happened in the original film, which for some reason a lot of people seem to compare this film to the original film. We'll get back to that. We see the remains of Star Destroyers and Imperial Walkers. The design of this new environment is really cool. We are in a darker world, where everything that happened in the original trilogy, a lot of people think that it's a myth or a legend. It is clear that no one has any hope anymore since the Jedis have pretty much disappeared, or at the very least, they cease to exist. We can feel the tension in the air. We can feel the hopelessness in the atmosphere. We can feel it everywhere, just like how we have felt the Force time and time again. Our new characters are Poe Dameron, a pilot working with the Resistance who was given the map that led to Luke Skywalker. Poe's character is adventurous and fearless. Finn, played by newcomer John Boyega, worked with the First Order as a stormtrooper, but now wants to help Poe and Rey. He is paranoid about the First Order because he was taken from his family to join the First Order. But he has a good conscience and wants to fight for what is right, along with our heroes. He wants to believe in something, but he wants to distance himself from the First Order as much as possible. His character was pretty good. Rey, played by Daisy Ridley, is a scavenger who becomes responsible for BB-8 and eventually learns about the Force. Rey is smart, crafty, and knows ships well. She's a survivor and a warrior, which makes her very interesting. Very different from both the prequel and original trilogies. She was taken from her family as well. Throughout the movies, she says that she has to go back to Jakku, but the problem is that her family will never come back. She has a lot of false hope in her, but is also a very unique individual. And not only that, but she has to learn about the Force in order to move on with her life and her past. One character that pops up is Maz Kanata, played by Oscar winner Lupita Nyong'o. She's the only one outside of Han and Luke, who disappeared, who knows about the Force. She provides a means of elevating the story, and her appearance is pretty good. I will admit, I kind of wanted to see more of her. Our new villain is, well, okay, we have 3 of them, but they kind of work in the same boat. Our first villain is Kylo Ren, played by Adam Driver, who is the leader of the First Order. His character is a little hard to describe. On the one hand, he is evil and diabolical, just like Darth Vader, but on the other hand, he can be temperamental and throws fits like a 10-year-old. He is wrestling with his evil and good side, but the thing is that he doesn't want to be good. He only wants to be a member of the dark side. He only wants to fill his life with darkness. He has been inspired by what Vader had done and wanted to follow in Vader's footsteps, essentially finishing what the Empire had started. He even goes as far as saving Vader's helmet and calling Vader his grandfather. Kylo was a member of the Ren, which I guess they're a group, trained in the Master of the Dark Arts. Kylo Ren has a different lightsaber than any other Jedi or Sith that came before, which people weren't really happy about it, but I like it. It has the standard blade like a typical lightsaber, but it has 2 other ends on it, so it kind of looks like Excalibur. It's unique. We also have General Hux, which I'm sorry, but I just don't like him. He is like another Hitler, practically, who only wants control and power, and basically acts over the top. There's a speech that he gives about the first demonstration of the Starkiller base, which they reside on, and all he does is basically just scream his speech out. Next is Captain Phasma, who only wears nothing but a silver suit, and the only thing that she cares about is her duty or her job. That's the only thing that she cares about. She hardly does anything. I'm starting to wonder if she was even there in the first place, if she was even meant to be there at all. But I'm hoping that by the next installment she'll have more development. I hope. And lastly, we have Snoke, a supreme leader who trained Kylo to be a member of the Sith. I don't know if anybody thinks he's cool, but unfortunately for me, he was probably the least developed character in this whole film. He only has 3 scenes, and even then, he's just kind of a one-note character. I know he's supposed to be like the Emperor or Darth Sidious / Palpatine, but it's really a problem when he says things that are just completely vague. The moment I'm referring to is when he says, "When Luke returns, a new Jedi will rise," which is just confusing. For one thing, it's too vague. A new Jedi? Where? I don't see any other members of the Jedi anywhere. The only one I see is Luke, and he appears at the very, very end. I don't know, maybe this will be explained more in the next film, but for now, it's just confusing. Oh, and speaking of Luke, why did he disappear in the first place? According to Han Solo, Luke was training a new generation of Jedis. A boy who was his apprentice turned against him, and Luke felt responsible to the point where he completely walked away from everything. And as a result, stories have been made up about him. Supposedly, he went to the Jedi Temple, and that's all we know. Outside of Luke, who only appears in 1 scene, like I mentioned before, we see other old friends, like Han Solo and his Wookiee companion Chewbacca, who, oh yeah, that's right, I had not talked about Chewbacca at all in this series, have I? Chewbacca is a great companion for Han. Those growls he makes is something out of legend. He's unique, interesting, and I'm telling you, everybody liked him, and they still attempt to do his growls to this day. And lastly, we have Leia, who is now a general. Han and Leia are married, but they have their doubts. They have fought before, and it's shown that they had kind of a rocky relationship, particularly with her son, Kylo. Dun dun dun. Actually, you kind of knew that was coming. I don't know, somehow you just kind of sensed it. Kylo is actually named Ben. Leia felt guilty about it. She wanted him to be trained by Luke, but he was instead trained by Snoke to the dark side. But the 2 of them still love each other by the end of all of this. The relationships between all these characters are pretty good. For Rey and Finn, it's about trying to survive. For Rey and Han, Han is like the father that Rey never had. And with Han and Leia, they're trying to mend old wounds. It's very interesting and very unique. And when Han dies in the film, thanks to his son, it's very tragic. We grew up with Han Solo, and now he's gone. We'll miss him dearly. May the Force be with you. BB-8 is interesting. He's kind of cute, actually. He's kind of a cute little droid. He's very different from all the other droids in the Star Wars galaxy. All the other droids kind of just move straight for the most part. But BB-8 can move around in circles, he can move faster. He's very unique, I will admit. I should probably explain more about the map. See, the map that BB-8 is carrying, thanks to Poe, that map was part of a series of maps that led to Luke. The First Order, we covered most of it, thanks to the Empire's archives, and apparently, we don't find this out until the end. R2-D2, who had been in hibernation since Luke disappeared, has the rest of the map. Well, that's convenient. The Starkiller base, which pretty much the entire First Order resides, some people were comparing the Starkiller base to the Death Star, but that's not really an accurate evaluation, mainly because of the fact that the Starkiller base is 3 times larger than the Death Star, and not only that, but is powered by the sun. And on top of all of that, there's an even greater threat because of the fact that the Starkiller base has the ability to wipe out not just one planet, but 3 simultaneously. The way that they designed the Starkiller base is really interesting. It's massive. It's completely huge. The entire base is one huge planet itself. Unfortunately, it's ruined by one teensy tiny problem. When the planet explodes, everyone in the First Order dies. Yeah, seriously, you didn't think that through? I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, Snoke? Whatever. The worlds are unique. Jakku, which is similar to Tatooine, okay. Takodana, located in the mid-rim, is similar to Endor, only there's a lot more to see. There are lakes, forests, and it's really, really pretty. Almost like Naboo. Dekar, an obscure planet located in the Allium system, where the Resistance resides. Tuanu, a village located on Jakku, where the opening scene takes place, where we see War Santeka, played by Max von Sydow, who gives Poe the map to Luke. It's a simple little village, but you don't really appreciate it much. Bember is a planet that gets wiped out thanks to the Starkiller base. Doesn't even have a name. Oh, look at that. And lastly, the ending where Rey actually does find Luke is located on Ak-O. Am I pronouncing that right? An island planet where Luke has been hiding all these years. The action scenes are really cool. The battles on Jakku are great. The climax on the Starkiller base is fine. It's almost kind of reminiscent of the final battle from the Phantom Menace. Some people are saying that this battle is similar to the Battle of Yavin. I don't agree. It's very different. There is a whole lot more at stake. It's not just one planet that's about to be blown up. It's pretty wait a minute. Wait a minute, hold on. The Starkiller base wants to destroy the rebellion by a super weapon that wants to destroy planet. Okay, you know, I can understand why people would be saying that, oh, this is very identical to the original film. I get what they're saying, but the reality of it is that it's not. It really isn't. I didn't even think so when I first saw it in the theater. I didn't think so at all. It's different. There's a lot of different things in it. It's not the same thing being repeated. The characters are different. The situations that we get into are different. And also, the narrative structure is different. Luke finds a wise old Jedi. Rey and Finn finds an old smuggler. You see, there's major differences here. The Starkiller base is 3 times larger than the original Death Star. And there's a lot more at stake because it's going to be a whole lot harder to just simply hit it a bunch of times and call it a day. No. They have to get inside and blow it up. The narrative structure is different. The flow of it is different. It's a different movie, guys. It's not the same thing. I understand why people would compare it, but it's different. Anyway, moving on. The Battle of Takodana is great, with really good editing, almost like a World War II movie. Oh yeah, I should probably talk about the duel. There are no lightsaber battles in this film at all, except at the end. The duel of Kylo, Finn, and Rey is okay, but I liked the duels in the original films before. Most of the time, they just kind of swing the lightsabers around, hoping that they would hit at some point, and that's really about it. But I know that it's Rey's first time using the lightsaber for action and defending, so I'll give this one a pass. I don't know, did anybody else think that it's weird that Finn, who is not a Jedi and has almost no knowledge of the Force, uses the lightsaber not once but twice in combat? I don't know. Overall, this film is good, but I'm not gonna say it ranks up with the original trilogy. It's not supposed to do that. It's supposed to be a new saga continuing on from the original trilogy. I enjoyed it very much. It's different, but has some similarities with the original film, but after watching it, I don't really see very many similarities at all. I really don't. So I don't understand why people are comparing this film to the original. I don't, I'm sorry. I don't. The film had a lot to prove. It had to prove that Star Wars could come back in a big way. Could there have been more? Yes, but again, it's got more to offer. That's why the 2 sequels are to follow. And before you ask, oh, are there similarities to the original film? I can conclude, not really. Yes, there are some images that are reminiscent of the original trilogy, but it is not the same thing. The narrative structure is different, and the pacing is different, so it's not the same as the original film at all. I enjoyed it very much, so I'm gonna say it's a good film. Would I say it's a masterpiece? No, but it's just that. A good, entertaining film with a good story, and also seeing our old friends passing the torch onto a new generation of heroes is a very touching experience. It's a good film. Could it have a lot more to offer? Sure, but that's what the next 2 films are for. And speaking of which, you know what's coming next. Instead of doing my regular Movie Inc. reviews, I'm going to do something very special with this one. I'm not going to say what it is, but just know that it'll be part of this 40th anniversary series. So be prepared for that.